Howdy, partners. Sup, gang? Hello, folks. This is part 1 of a new series that I will be beginning that I like to call Stories from Pennsylvania. If you wonder what it's like in Pennsylvania, and if you plan on going to Pennsylvania, and if you're wondering what to expect in Pennsylvania, this video is not for you because these are very secluded incidents and are not typical in all cases. But anyway, this is part 1 of Stories from Pennsylvania titled Toenails, and here we go. So on my way to Pennsylvania, right, I was in a plane. I've never been in a plane before, by myself. I've been in a plane before, but I've never been in a plane by myself, So I was on a plane on my way to Pennsylvania, and when I was on my way to Pennsylvania, the first airport, right, my mom was at the gate. She was crying, saying her last goodbyes, because I thought I was never coming back to Washington. Well, so I was wrong, but anyway, back then, I thought I was not going to see my mom for maybe several years, but, that wasn't the case anyway. So, I was getting, through the security, getting on the way to the plane, getting towards the seating, right? I was waiting. I was like, I had just had a new phone. I just got a new phone, right? I got a flip phone because I've always wanted one. And, first step towards independence, because I'm an independent guy. Anyway, so I'm getting on my first plane. It was a good ride. I had a book on me, and the book was great. But, so when I'm reading the book, right, I was like, man, this is a good book. So anyway, we got to the first stop, which was in like Denver or something. And in Denver, I got really lost at the airport. Like, here's what I mean. So say this is a map of the airport, right? The way I should have gone was this way, but the way I actually went was this way. So it was insanely inefficient of a way to have gone, and anyway, I eventually made it to my, what's it called, dock or something? Gate, yeah, I eventually made it to the gate that I was supposed to get on to get to the plane. I got to the gate to the plane, and I was like, is this the plane to Pittsburgh? And they're like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, yeah. So I took a seat, and I sat for a while. I didn't want to get lost, so I didn't walk around or anything. But I probably could have, because it was like an hour and a half. So I'm just sitting there, like, playing with my new phone, because I got it the day before, right? So I'm figuring out a flip phone, and texting is completely different. I have a text. Anyway, texting is completely different, right? Instead of just typing, on these phones, on smartphones, you type A, and it types A. You type K, and it types K. You type L, and it types L, right? You get the picture. But for these, you gotta, like, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, right? So all the numbers are on the keypad, and you press the keypad to get to the letter. Like, it'll say 1, A, B, C. To get to the C, you gotta press 1 3 times. And same with all the other letters. So, you know, I'm trying to figure this all out. I'm telling my mom, like, don't cry. I'll see you again. But, I mean, of course, she was still crying. I didn't get a response from her for a while. I don't think. But anyway, that doesn't matter. So I was figuring out texting, you know, telling her, like, I'm at the first stop. And I think I texted some other people, too, being like, I'm okay. You know, I made it to the first stop. So I'm at the first stop, stopping. And finally, they're calling people on board. So I'm like, yeet. You know, first they call on the pregnant people for some reason. And then, like, the elderly. And so on. So, finally they called, like, you know, they were going row by row. Finally, they called my row. So, when they called my row, I was going, you know, to sit down. And I sat down, and the lady, you know, she seemed nice at first. You know, she's just casual. We had a little small talk, which was very little small talk. You know, it was like, hey, what's your name? Oh, hey, I'm Linda. What's your name? I'm Gian. Nice to meet you. Yeah. And that's all we really did. I think there could have been like, so how's it going? Going good. That's good to hear. And then that was it. Because not everybody asks how you're doing back, which is rude. And if you do that, you are rude. Anyway, so like halfway on the plane ride, right? I'm just reading my book in peace, trying to at least. But this lady, her idea of entertaining herself on a plane ride is different from mine, apparently. You know, I'm reading, full concentration, like really getting into the novel. Right, it wasn't a novel, but for sake of this, I'm saying it's a novel. So I'm getting really into this novel, and she's not. You know, she's in her own world. She was just sitting there for a while, like looking around. I don't know how you can be so entertained by looking around. I had the window seat, and she did not have a window seat. So she didn't have anything to look around at. Just maybe like the blue sky or whatever. Anyway, so her idea of entertainment for a plane ride was to reach into her bag and pull out nail clippers and to start clipping her toenails. And a lot of nail clippers, right? You know, you'll be there, right? And it'll like catch the nails in the nail clippers so it won't fly across the room, or in this case, across the plane, or onto the person next to you. So I'm sitting there trying to read my book, and suddenly I hear a little click and a bunch of clicking, and I don't really know what it is. I don't look up. I'm just like, huh, it's clicking. But it filters out because, you know, it's just background noise. So eventually I hear a click, and a toenail lands in my book, and I'm like, what the hell? You know, I just was reading, and like a toenail lands in my book after I hear a click. So I'm like, you know, I look over, and there's this lady clipping her toenails. And that really weirded me out. You know, like, you should not be barefoot on a plane. That's not something you do on a plane. And especially clipping your nails. Toenails, that's even worse than clipping your normal nails. And especially aiming it at people. And not caring that you're aiming at people, so it lands there. And I'm like, well, shit. I just gotta deal with it, you know. But I'm very weirded out, and it's really awkward. And eventually, like a flight attendant or whatever comes by, and is like, do you want some snacks? And I'm like, yeah. And I got some almonds, and they were the best almonds I've ever eaten. They were made from like California or something. And I got some water too. It was ice cold water, and it was great. Eventually we touched down in Pennsylvania, and the hideous plane ride was over.